Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And today I thought that we would read some meditations, so I brought the Melody Beatty book up with me. I didn't make any videos over here yesterday, so I'm going to go in and look at yesterday's meditation and today's meditation as well, and we'll see what the universe is saying to us. So let's get into the language of letting go. If you guys are new over here, which I'm sure you're not, I don't know why this would be the first video that you would pick, but if you're new over here, this is the sister book, the meditation book to Melody Beatty's Codependent No More, which is one of the most fantastic, I don't even like calling it a self-help book, but a self-help motivational book about codependency and working through codependency. And I tell people this a lot, almost equally as much as the basic text of the 12-step program that I'm in for addiction and recovery. This book helped me almost just as much. It actually helped me understand my own addiction a lot and my relationships with other people through my addiction when I first read it. Well, not this book, but, well, this book too, but Codependent No More. It really helped me understand my interactions with people through my addiction, but then it also helped me understand like my relationship with my mom through her drinking and how I was codependent through that. And it really helped me understand, you know, me trying to senselessly kind of control situations there, like by pouring alcohol out when I was like in high school and whatever, which is crazy that I, you know, as an alcoholic would pour alcohol out, but it was my anger at the alcohol that I didn't really understand. It was like, I can remember the first time reading Codependent No More. And there's a wife in there, they tell stories at the beginning of it, and there's a wife in there that's talking about how her husband has a drinking problem. A lot of it is about that. And she's talking about how she's like, okay, I'm going to buy him a 6-pack of beer every night. And then she sits down and she's like, okay, you can have a 6-pack of beer, you know, when you drink it. Because she doesn't understand addiction whatsoever. She just is like on the outside trying to help her husband and trying to, you know, help her family. And so she said, you can have a 6-pack of beer every night, which is controlled drinking. Controlled drinking is something that in recovery and 12-step programs that we recommend to people that don't think they're alcoholics. If you don't think you're an alcoholic, we recommend go out and try some controlled drinking. And controlled drinking would be where you would say, okay, tonight I'm going to have 3 beers and I'm going to stop. This weekend when I go out, I'm going to have a beer and a shot, and then I'm not going to drink any more than that. Or I'm going to only drink 3 nights this week. Or I'm only going to drink wine. I'm not going to drink hard liquor anymore. And if you find yourself, set a limit of 30 to 90 days. And if you find yourself having, and this is just my personal experience. I'm not an expert, obviously. But, you know, if you find somebody, or if you find yourself having a hard time doing that, then the reality is you might be an alcoholic or an addict. You know, if you're, you know, a pot smoker and you say, okay, I want to reduce my pot smoking. It could be anything, right? And you say, okay, instead of the first thing I do when I get in the morning is get high, and the first thing I do when I get off work is get high, and then I get high all night long. Instead of doing that, I'm not going to get high before I go to work anymore. I'm going to wait until I get off work, and that's going to be my controlled smoking. And then when I get, you know, and then I'm going to allow myself to smoke after work, and I'm going to allow myself to smoke before I go to bed. And if you find yourself having a hard time doing that with these boundaries that you're setting for yourself, you don't even have to tell anybody you're setting these boundaries. If you find yourself having a hard time doing that, the reality is you might have an addiction issue. And it's really like you coming up with that on your own, you know? But I can remember and reading this story that was in Codependent No More, and it was about this woman, and she like, I think it was like a 6-pack of beer or something like that, that she would buy her husband. She said, okay, every night you're gonna be able to have a 6-pack of beer, but that's it. Like when the 6-pack of beer is gone, you're done. Well, you know, there's a motto in addiction and recovery, which is that 1 is too many and 1,000 is never enough. Meaning that once you have that first drink, it's like you're off to the races. Like you're not gonna stop, right? I can remember many evenings that once I started drinking, I didn't know where I would end up. I mean, I just knew that, right? And like that was even kind of scary, but kind of exciting for me at the same time. And so I remember reading a story in Codependent No More, and the guy drank the 6-pack of beer and then got in the car intoxicated and drove to the liquor store, and she's like so upset. She doesn't get it. She doesn't understand. She's like, but I bought him the 6-pack of beer and I was trying to be so nice about it. You know, I say this all the time. If niceness and love were enough for people to not drink anymore, then we wouldn't need 12-step programs, treatment programs, MAP programs, therapy, church. We wouldn't need any of that, right? Because love would be enough. If you could just say to somebody, I love you, please stop using, they'd say, I respect your love, I'm not going to use anymore. But love's not that powerful. I wish it was. I really do, you know? And I think that's where so many people reach out to me and they say, what's the one thing that I can do for my loved one? You know, I was going to get into this meditation, but I'm having a good time talking about this. We'll finish this up with this meditation. But, I get reached out to a lot by people that say, what's one thing that I can do that I can really help my spouse or my mother or my sibling or my friend or whatever, right? And I think often that's kind of a loaded question a little bit. When people ask a question like that, I think that they think that I'm going to be able to respond to them as a person in recovery. And I think anybody that you ask in recovery is probably going to give you a different answer about that. I'm just sharing based on my personal experience what I've told other people that's worked for them, right? And so when people ask me that question, I think that they assume I'm going to say something to them like, love them as much as you possibly can, or, do the easy, like maybe just I say easy, but for some people it's hard. Like remove all the alcohol from your house. Don't drink around them anymore. Ask them how they're doing. But really, it's a little bit more time consuming and harder if you really want to help that person. I mean, the first thing I would say is get yourself involved in a 12-step program for friends and family members of alcoholics and addicts. There's Al-Anon, which is for friends and family members of alcoholics, but friends and family members of addicts go there as well. And then there's Nar-Anon, which is, for friends and family members of addicts. If you're really close to this person, get in some individual counseling. Ask them to come with you if you want to. Educate yourself on addiction. Educate yourself. Read the basic texts of Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Heroin Anonymous, whatever program they're going to. Read the basic text. Know what they know if they're trying to go through that. If they're not there yet, read the basic text anyway. You'll learn a lot about it. I've had so many people that have come to me and said, and I've read the basic texts of all of those programs, whatever. And so I'll have people come to me and be like, oh my God, I just read this and blah, 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 and I can totally see my, brother in this and whatever. And I'm like, educate yourself. Like sometimes I think, I wish I could give you guys easy answers. I really wish I could, I wish I could give you really easy answers about that. The people that are really closest to me in my life, they're very educated on those things. My dad knows all the ins and outs of recovery. He had to, because his son was an addict and an alcoholic. He had to learn. He's read all the basic texts, My dad knows all that stuff. He went to enough family groups and all that kind of stuff for years. He knows all about it. My husband is highly educated. That was kind of one of my deal breakers when we got in this relationship. People ask me all the time, they're like, does it bother you that your husband drinks? I'm 29 and a half years sober. If it bothered me that my husband drank, I would probably need to be focused a little bit more on the hardships of my own sobriety. I say this to people all the time that if I'm really craving drinking to me today, there's a difference between romancing drinking, which romancing to me is like, oh, it'd be kind of fun to sit on a beach and have a beer. That's romancing a drink. Craving a drink is where it's like, I need a drink. I need a drink, or I want to get high, or I want to eat a pill. That's craving. If I'm craving, and I have not craved in quite some time, but if I'm craving like that, there's something emotionally going on inside of me that has nothing to do with the drink or the drug. It's but a symptom of that. So there's something deeper going on with me that I need to deal with. I know people that choose to not ever date or be with people that we call normies that are drinkers and, do other things. For me, it's being able to be allowed to have the ability to set boundaries with that. I don't even care that we have today that we have alcohol in our house. Are there times that maybe I felt differently about that? Sure. I can remember a time that I opened the thing and Alex had all these shot glasses from college. And I was like, can you box those up and get those out of here? He's like, absolutely. Within 20 minutes, they were gone. You know what I mean? It's stuff like that. There was a period where I just didn't want to see it. We were going out to, bars every night and VIP sections. And when we left, they would hand us a bottle of liquor. And so I told Alex, I said, just keep it in the garage. I don't want to see it. But I don't feel that way today. That's 15 years ago, 16 years ago. I don't feel that way today. But I think also if you're not a drinker or if you're not an alcoholic, if you're not an addict, you don't really get it. I don't know, all these stories I'm telling you guys are so long ago. And this story is probably 12, 13, 14 years ago. But Alex went to the pool with a couple of his girlfriends one day, and they got I think they took some beer up there or something like that. And it was a case of beer. Well, when they went home, they only drank 10 of them or something. And so they split it between the two of them, or between the three of them. And Alex had one beer in the refrigerator, and it sat there for 2 or 3 months. And I can remember every time I'd open that refrigerator, I saw it way down at the bottom, that beer. And this was during the period that I wasn't going to meetings and stuff, and it was like driving me crazy. And so one day, like, we got kind of in some argument, and I go, "And can you take that beer out of the refrigerator?" And he was like, "What are you talking about? What beer in the refrigerator?" And I was like, "That beer that you've kept down there all summer, blah, blah, blah." He goes, "I didn't even know it was in there. You could have asked me to take it out of there like a long time ago." See, like, just the presence of that beer when we're going through something emotional bothers us. Those are the things that I would educate yourself on. If you want to know about 12-step meetings, there are open 12-step meetings. You are fully free and able to go to open meetings. There's closed meetings and open meetings. Open meetings mean that anybody can go. Anybody is welcome. Closed meetings means that they are just for alcoholics or addicts. But you can go to open meetings, you know, Google online, you know, people in recovery, watch the movies, you know, and educate yourself on it and get a little bit better knowledge. I think that's really probably the best way. I think when it comes to really hardcore addiction, and you're really close to that person, the thing that people don't want to do, that I think is the most helpful, that ended up helping me, with my dad enabled me for years, and when he finally set limits and boundaries and was like, "I'm done," I think that's when things started turning around for me, you know? People have asked me that for years, and I'm like, you know, I can tell you what boundaries and limits to set that were set for me. I can't promise you that it's going to turn out the same way. You know, your loved one might continue to go out there and use, and they might end up dead. It happens to a lot of addicts and alcoholics. There's not a week that goes by that I don't hear about somebody that I know that passed away. It breaks my heart. That's why I talk so passionately about addiction and recovery, because I don't want anybody else to die out there. I just don't. But I don't have the ability to control that. You know, there's another saying that we have is that I can't get somebody drunk and I can't get them sober. I don't have the ability to do that. Okay? I wish I did. I don't. I believe in a higher power. I don't even believe a higher power alone can do that. I think that person has to have the desire to do that as well, and then work with a higher power. But I don't have that kind of control on my own. I just don't, you know? And I can't get somebody drunk by something that I say or do. I don't have that kind of power. That's their choice. They can't do that to me either. If I've said this a bunch of times on here, if I ever relapse and go back out, I can't blame that on anybody but myself. That was a choice I made. So I don't have the ability to get somebody drunk or sober. So nothing that you do is going to, I mean, you might push that person to the point where they're like, whatever, but they're already there, if they are. I mean, that's the truth. We don't really want to admit that. So we're doing everything we possibly can to safeguard situations, make it easier for them, continue to give them money, give them a place to stay, continue to invite them over for a meal. Well, that's all enabling behavior. If you're at a point where you're so worried about your loved one that you don't know what else to do, first of all, you need to consult a professional ASAP. ASAP. Call a treatment program and say, I need a therapist to see that is specialized in recovery and addiction, or, you know, get online and look up somebody in your area. You need to be consulting a professional immediately, you know? And I say that a lot to people. That's the first thing I always say. You need to consult somebody professionally, because this is, you need to be directed in how to handle this situation. They will teach you how to do limits and boundaries. They will teach you as hard as it is, you know? But even saying those limits and boundaries isn't guaranteed that they're going to get sober. You don't know that. Which is why there are people that are still in Al-Anon and Nar-Anon 20, 30 years later. And whenever I say this, there's always one person that comments on my videos, and they'll say, I've been in Al-Anon 20 years, even though I got divorced from my husband 25 years ago, you know, or 18 years ago, you know, because they're still responding to the world as somebody that had a relationship with an alcoholic or an addict. Al-Anon's not going to teach you, Nar-Anon's not going to teach you how to fix the alcoholic or the addict. They're going to teach you how to fix yourself. You're going to work steps on on how you respond to the world as a person that has an alcoholic or an addict in your life. They're not going to teach you tricks on how to fix the alcoholic or an addict. That's what we all want. We all want tricks on how to fix this. When I came in to 12-step meetings, I wanted tricks on how to drink and use effectively and not get in trouble and not have everybody mad at me. That's what I wanted to learn. What I realized was that's not really that possible. So when people reach out to me and they ask me, what's the best way that I can help my loved one, educate yourself, get involved in a 12-step program yourself, seek counseling, and be willing to set limits and boundaries. And none of those things are fun and none of those things are easy. But there's a healing process that comes with that, and you will ultimately be helping that person. If you guys want to, I'm not going to do a meditation today because I got into that so heavily, but if you guys have more questions about addiction and recovery, and I can get into more specifics about those things that I talked about just based on my own personal experience, what's worked for me, what I've seen worked with friends of mine, things like that, let me know, and I'd be more than willing to share it. I love talking about addiction and recovery. So I love you guys, and let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.